But let's get right to it. It's time for your reality check. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. President Trump woke up Sunday morning and spent his morning attacking NBC's Chuck Todd on Twitter. Trump's tweets were in response to Todd's ongoing criticism of the art of the deal president's loosey-goosey negotiating skills. Most recently, Todd called into question the president's dealing with North Korea, noting that the state is holding 3 U.S. citizens prisoners. Todd has gone on to criticize Trump on the amount of attention he has given to the North Korean President Kim Jong-un on social media. Doing what Trump does, the president went after Todd viciously, America, viciously. Let's talk about it right now. In one of the tweets, President Trump says the following: "Sleepy-eyed Chuck Todd of fake news NBC just stated that we have given up so much in our negotiations with North Korea, and they have given up nothing. Wow. We haven't given up anything, and they have agreed to denuclearize. So great for the world. Site closures and no more testing." Now, I believe in facts here at the Fowler Show. And so here's fact number 1 to the president's tweet. The North Koreans have not agreed to denuclearize. Have they agreed to stop testing? Yes. But have they agreed to denuclearize the peninsula? Absolutely not. Now, with that being said, I was one here at the Fowler Show and on Fox News Channel, August 7th, pull the tapes. I was one of the first individuals to say, now more than ever, we should be sitting down with Kim Jong-un. And I give the president credit for being willing to sit down with Kim Jong-un. But with that being said, America, and many of these negotiations, and you have these high-level foreign negotiations, what ends up happening is a lot of the cake gets made before the two principals actually get into the room. And what scares me about these negotiations is I'm not sure if President Trump has the right team or if he's empowered. Let me be very clear. His diplomats, career diplomats, to begin the negotiations on the right foot with Kim Jong-un. And that is what should scare Americans. Not the fact that we're sitting down with Kim Jong-un, but the fact that we have not began to start to make the sausage here. Now, Trump has given Kim what he craves the most: legitimacy, by agreeing to meet with him with no planning, no negotiations, and no preconditions. And that is problematic. If we are going to sit down with a North Korean leader, there should be preconditions, there should be pre-negotiations, and there should be just a smidgen of planning. Kim announced that he would stop nuclear testing because the testing phase is concluded, not as a gift to Trump, who does not understand the difference. And experts say Kim's announcing that he will no longer use the testing sites could be because it's no longer usable. So basically, some of our experts are saying that Kim could be playing us like a $2 hooker at Christmas. And maybe, just maybe, those experts are right. Could those experts be wrong? Absolutely. But here is what we know to be true. The reason why Kim Jong-un, his father, and his grandfather have nuclear weapons is to protect their regime. Because they understand this. In a world where they're not nuclearized, it is very possible that the North Korean regime will no longer exist. Now, the North Korean regime no longer existing is a great thing for the world. But it's not a great thing for Kim Jong-un, who is now a world leader. And that is the trade-off here. And that's what makes these negotiations so important, so high stakes, and big diplomatic move for the President of the United States. Now, the South Koreans have began the conversation, right? And the other thing that I think alarms me about these negotiations that you're not seeing enough of, maybe it's happening behind closed doors and they're in covert meetings and maybe we're missing it all, but I find that hard to believe, is that you're not seeing the formation of the team of individuals that will lead these negotiations. Because remember, beyond just having the United States and North Korea in the meeting, you also need to have South Korea, you also need to have Japan, you also need to have China, you also need to have Russia. All these are parties that have some influence on what will happen with Kim Jong-un and what will happen to secure peace in that particular region. So if China's not at the table, if Russia isn't at the table, if Japan isn't at the table, and obviously if South Korea isn't at the table, these negotiations won't work. Now, people have argued that Trump has become a mouthpiece for Kim Jong-un, literally quoting him in tweets verbatim without questioning the accuracy of his statements. By doing so, Trump has again legitimized a brutal dictator and shows that he will believe anything that Kim says. We should trust but verify. That is what former Republican President Ronald Reagan once stated, and those words could not be truer today. Instead of saying that, he's denuclearized, his sites have closed and there's no more testing, maybe we should ensure that to be true. Maybe it's time for us to send in the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to ensure that Kim has indeed stopped testing and he's indeed denuclearized, even though he's claimed to not have denuclearized. He's only said he will stop testing and he has closed some of the testing sites. But before we put our big joker in a meeting, and when I mean big joker, I don't mean it meanly. I mean it like in, a deck of cards, the highest card is the king, the big joker in a game of spades, right? Before we put President Trump, our king of joker, our big joker in a meeting with another world leader, we should make sure everything else is in line. We should make sure that it is indeed true that they've stopped testing. We should make sure that it's indeed true they've closed the sites. And we should also figure out where this fissile material is, where the nuclear weapons are, and what we should and shouldn't know about them. The Washington Post recently published a column claiming that the term sleepy eyes is an anti-Semitic jab at Todd and a subtle message from to President Trump's white supremacist following. The stereotype of Jews having sleepy eyes goes back to the Nazi politicians who used the trait in a child's book about how he identified Jews. Now, websites have pages devoted to identifying Jews, and one of those traits is indeed sleepy eyes. Now, is this just the president making fun of Trump, of Chuck Todd's eyes, or is this more about him attacking Jewish people? I don't have the answer to that one, and I'm not going to delve into it. But I'm going to have what I do want to say about it. What I do want to say is this. I think it's very important that I say this. It is when the president goes out and he keeps saying, fake news, everything's fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news, NBC. That is problematic for a lot of reasons, because many of these organizations are being penalized because they are reporting exactly what the president does and what the president says, with no spin, just what it is. And I'll give you a great example. The president's the guy who we appointed to be Veteran Affairs Administrator, the head of the Veteran Affairs Secretary, or the head of the Veteran Affairs Department, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs, right, who is the White House doctor. This guy has no experience. He knows nothing about veteran affairs. And come to find out, he wasn't even properly vetted, and he's an awful manager. And so when the media reports this, and then Trump's response is, oh, they're fake news. No, Mr. President, it is the job of the media to hold you accountable. It is the job of the media to check facts. And it's the job of the media to point out the truth. And the truth is that your Veteran Affairs Secretary doesn't have the experience, and he's a horrible manager. Those are facts. And when journalists report those facts, they should be labeled as fake news. You should pick a better Veteran Affairs Secretary.